Hey you guys, Marlene with Beautiful Beena Designs, back with another card share. Today we will be doing another create a card set, fast, easy, and encouraging. I'd like to tell you guys really quickly about my amazing friend, May Dobbins. She is a wonderful human being who has started an organization called Single Moms That Rock. May spends her time sharing her faith and rising up those who really could use a little bit of support right now. And as you guys know, I love making cards. So I asked my friend May if I made some cards for her organization, would she have a use for them? Not only did she say she would have a use for them, but she really appreciated the gesture. So today we'll be making the first set for that organization. We will be using this Sizzix stamp and die set called Photo Frame I Am Phrases. Now this die set is meant to be used as a drop-in die. So you can grab one of the words, grateful, beautiful, blessed, and you can drop it right into that photo frame and it will cut out for you a Polaroid style frame with that word along the bottom. So it might say grateful right there. And I thought that was super cool. However, once I got the set into my craft room and started working with it, I had some other ideas and I decided not to use it that way. I decided to make my very own stamp. And the way that I did that was by taking several of these encouraging words. Now, what I showed you just a minute ago was that frame saying, I am brave. And I decided to take it a step further. I wanted to use several of those words like brave and smart and strong and create my own stamp. So how I did that was I grabbed a piece of washi tape and I aligned several of those word dies. I started with blessed, moved on to brave. Now I'm taking care to line these up as carefully as I can because I will be making one single stamp out of these several dies, and we want it to look like it was always meant to be that one single stamp. So again, starting with blessed, moving on to brave. Here I'm laying down the word beautiful. Next, I will be adding the word smart to that washi tape strip, and we will follow that up with strong. And finally, after strong, the whole point of everything, the word enough. Now that I have these all lined up as carefully as I can, I am going to be die cutting out a piece of fun foam. So I have cut my piece of fun foam to 2 inches by 2.5 inches. You can do this technique with any die, just cut your fun foam accordingly. Now, when you are doing something that needs to be placed a certain way, such as words, you do want to cut on the adhesive side so that you flip that over, stick it to the acrylic block, and when you stamp it, it reads properly. Now there I am taking special care to center those dies so that when I turn this into a stamp, it will all be centered and will stamp well. So here you can see with that adhesive side against the back of the block, everything reads well. And when we add the ink and stamp that down on the paper, that will stamp just perfectly. Today we are going to be making, as you saw just a moment ago, gatefold cards. So what we're going to be doing is starting with half of an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. We are going to score that at 2.25 inches from either side. Now I made several of these, so I did take the extra step of putting a small arrow on my scoreboard so that I didn't really have to think about it. Every time I just scored where that arrow was. At the end of this project, I simply erased that arrow. So if you're going to make several, that might be a tip that you enjoy. So we're going to score this on each side 2.25 inches, and I do like to score my paper on the front and the back. I think it breaks up those fibers really well and makes very crisp folds. Now we're going to join both of those ends in the middle, trying to make the best seam that we can. And here I have an oval die cut. You can use any shape, what you want to do really is find the center of that die cut. So mine happened to be previously connected to other dies, and it had those little metal connections, which showed me exactly where the center is. I used those as guides. Had that not been there, I would have simply measured and made a little tick mark on the die showing me where the center is. So now that I've put it exactly centered onto that gatefold card, I'm going to open the card, lay it down on my cutting plate, and run it through my Spellbinders machine. Here you see that we have cut out half of that oval. What we want to do now is match that up with the other side so that that die is perfectly centered once again. And as you slide that around in the previously cut portion, it will slide right into place like a jigsaw puzzle piece. And that's what I'm looking for right now, is that perfect match. I have just found it. I'll tape that down, and now I will cut the other half of that shape. Once again, running it through my Spellbinders machine completely open and unfolded. When we bring that back, we have that complete oval shape cut out of the center. We are going to eventually place our stamp right in that opening. Before we do that, we are going to be doing some dry embossing. I've got a Sheena Designs floral embossing folder here. And once again, we have to do this 1/2 at a time. So what I'm doing is sliding that gatefold card up to the fold, making sure that it gets sort of as clean as possible against that fold line. You don't want to go up all the way to the top because many embossing folders don't emboss all the way up to the top. So make sure you take a good look at your embossing folder. Now we're going to be doing the second side, same exact thing, pushing it into the embossing folder up to that fold line, not all the way up to the top. And here we are. Both sides die cut, both sides embossed with that floral pattern, and we're ready to move forward with our stamping. I do like to reinforce that fold after we have run it through the machine, unfolded a couple of times. I'm now using a pencil to just make some very light marks, letting me know where that oval opening is so that I can be sure to get my stamp right in the center. Today I'm using Recollections Ombre Pigment Inks. These are sold at Michael's. They are a value product. If you've seen my previous video on value products, some of them I love, some of them not so much, but these Recollections ombre ink pads are terrific. So all the 3 colors I just showed you I have used as part of this set, but right now we're using the pink to orange. In order to get a great image, what you want to do with these ombre stamp pads, not just the Recollections, but all in my experience, is sort of shimmy them up and down. That is a tip that I learned from Jennifer McGuire. It is very important if you don't want stark lines or gaps. So ombre inks, shimmy up and down, just like you saw me do a moment ago. Now, because we're using that fun foam and it's very thin and it is not a professionally created stamp, I am taking a lot of care to make sure that I put pressure across every little bit of that stamp, especially where those words are very skinny and small, just to make sure we get a nice crisp image, which we have gotten here. Now, because this is pigment ink, it did stick a lot to this acrylic block. We are going to use, or at least I used, a baby wipe to take most of that ink off, and then I went and just stamped off the rest of the ink. I couldn't really use my stamp chamois because if you rub too hard on that homemade stamp, it will peel up. Okay, so once again, pigment ink takes a while to dry, but if you go ahead and emboss it and heat set it, you are good to go immediately. Not only does it help with the drying, but it also gives a nice shiny look that I appreciate very much for this card design. So when you fold those gate fold flaps over, you do see a little bit of shine. Now here I am erasing those light pencil marks. Anything that was embossed over is not going to erase, but anything that was embossed over is really not going to show either. So I'm just going in and erasing the marks that were left uncovered. Now we're going to stamp the final part of our sentiment. For this card, I'm using the word believe. I did create a 10 card set, and I used 3 different sentiments for that section right there. Believe, be you, and dream big. So now, as a final part of this card, we are creating the belly band, which will keep that gatefold card closed. We have 2 strips here. One is vellum and one is black cardstock. That vellum is 3/4 of an inch. The cardstock is just over a half an inch, maybe 9/16 of an inch. Right now, I am using alcohol markers. I do not have Copics. I can't even compare to Copics because I've never used them. These are Shuttle Art markers, which I purchased through Amazon. I'm obviously using a scratch paper that I've used for all the other cards, so it's got several stripes on there. But what we're doing right now is creating stripes that coordinate with the card. So once again, we used that pink to orange stamp set. I'm putting pink up top. It's a very vibrant fuchsia pink, and the orange on the bottom. In that picture, at least that's what I was showing. We will flip that around later. But here we have the sentiment you are, which will be the beginning sentiment for all of our cards. I am right now using my Ranger Distress embossing ink to stamp that you are. And I am going to come in now with my Hero Arts white detail embossing powder to give that a finished look. And here I'll show you that I'm using that white detail. I'm using the coffee filter, and I like to use a little Dixie bowl to really contain that mess. Heat set it, and now it is ready to go. So I'm just wiping off anything that might have been sort of a stray embossing powder, adding a tape runner strip along the middle of that black cardstock. And we're going to put that right down the center of that vellum. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned, but I did color on the back side of that vellum so that when I put that strip down, it shows sort of like tissue paper. It's a soft colored vellum paper, and I think that looks really nice with this particular card design, the encouragement and all of that, just that soft touch. I like it very much. We will be coming in now and scoring that belly band so that we can fold it and wrap it around these cards. Now I am giving these cards as a set to May so that she can use them with some of the folks that she works with. So I'm leaving just a tiny bit of room so that belly band easily slides on and off so that she can slide it off, write her message inside, and slide it back on. If I were giving this directly to the ultimate recipient, I might make that belly band pretty tight so it holds that card completely flat. However, no worries. Once you put this card in a standard A2 envelope, it will be completely flattened, and the recipient will receive a card that they're able to slide that belly band off and really get the full effect of that message. You are blessed, brave, beautiful, smart, strong, enough. And here's the rest of the card set that I made. I made a total of 10 cards. I used 3 different of these ombre color palettes. The orange to pink was the one that I showed. I'm sorry, the pink to orange is the one I showed you earlier. The blue to turquoise is the one that was on the screen just a moment ago. And finally, we had the purple to blue. Here is the card set. I hope that I have encouraged you to make beautiful things. Thanks for stopping by.